Welcome to EPG Pathshala. Today we will be discussing Module 22 on library managers and their roles under the paper Management of Library and Information Centers. We will touch upon the concept and definition of a manager, the role and responsibilities of a library manager, and how the role of a library manager is changing continuously with changing environment. This we will do by way of discussing the definition and meaning of a manager, the role of a manager and managerial responsibilities, and how the role of a library professional has changed over a period of time, and what are the new roles and responsibilities of library managers in this new modern information era. How does knowledge management hold relevance to us? And by recapitulating what we have discussed.
Now let's look at the definition and meaning of a manager. We can define a manager as a person who is responsible for planning and directing the work of a group of individuals, monitoring their work and taking corrective measures wherever necessary. The shortest definition of management is one attributed to Mary Parker Follett, which is, management is the art of getting things done through people. There are literally hundreds of other definitions of this term. Almost every one contains two elements: a mention of people and activities and a reference to formal organizations. So what do managers do? Managers direct and facilitate the work of others. There is generally something of a pyramid shape to an organization with three generic levels, namely the top, the middle, and the bottom. In recent years, organizations have flattened their structures, and so the ratios at different levels have changed and will continue to do so. However, almost all organizations still have some form of these three levels, which may appear to be much of a hierarchy. The question, what do managers do, has many answers, but it actually contains two issues: management function and behavior. Some managerial functions are planning, directing, or budgeting, while behavioral aspects involve around the roles filled, such as negotiator or group spokesperson. Managers may direct workers directly, or they may direct several supervisors who direct the workers. The manager must be conversant with the work of all the groups he or she supervises, but does not necessarily be the best in any or all the areas. It is essential for the manager to know how to manage the employees than to know how to do their work well. Moving now to role of a manager and managerial responsibilities. Any managerial role and activity typically starts with the good old POSDECORB acronym coined by Gulick and Erwick long back in 1937, which stands for planning, organizing, staffing, direction, coordination, reporting, and budgeting. These functions underlie in one form or another. However, they do not describe the work of a manager completely. They merely identify the objectives of a manager's work. The author who had the greatest general influence in the area of managerial behavior or work was Henry Mintzberg. He criticizes the functions approach to management as not being reflective of what managers do on a day-to-day basis. Rather, he suggests looking at the roles played. His concept employs 10 roles divided among 3 categories. They are interpersonal roles, for example, figurehead, leader, and liaison; informational roles like the nerve center, disseminator, and spokesperson; and decisional roles like entrepreneur, disturbance handler or troubleshooter, a resource allocator, and negotiator. Later on, in 2007, Evans and Ward suggested addition of the role of a politician to the informational role. Usually, the four managerial tasks, which are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, are taken as essential parts of a manager's job. At all levels in the managerial hierarchy, and across all jobs and departments in an organization, effective management means performing these four activities successfully in ways that increase efficiency and effectiveness. To perform the four managerial tasks efficiently and effectively, organizations group or differentiate their managers in two main ways, that are by level in hierarchy and by type of skill. First, they differentiate managers according to their level or rank in the organization's hierarchy of authority. The three levels of managers are first-line managers, middle managers, and top managers arranged in a hierarchy. Typically, first-line managers report to middle managers and middle managers report to top managers. Secondly, organizations group managers into different departments according to their specific job-related skills, expertise, and experiences, such as a manager's engineering skills, marketing expertise, or sales experience. A department, such as the manufacturing, accounting, engineering, or sales department, is a group of managers and employees who work together because they possess similar skills and experience or use the same kind of knowledge, tools, or techniques to perform their jobs. Within each department, all three levels of management are seen. Managers at each level have different but related responsibilities for using organizational resources to increase efficiency and effectiveness. Organizing people into departments according to the kinds of job-specific tasks they perform lays out the lines of authority and responsibility between different individuals and groups. Therefore, managers must decide how best to organize resources, particularly the human resources. Now let's take a peek look at the four essential managerial tasks. To perform the planning task, managers identify and select appropriate organizational goals and courses of action. They develop strategies for how to achieve high performance. The three steps involved in planning are deciding which goals the organization will pursue, deciding what strategies to adopt to attain these goals, and deciding how to allocate organizational resources to pursue the strategies that attain these goals. How well managers plan and develop strategies determines how effective and efficient the organization is. Organizing is structuring working relationships so that organizational members interact and cooperate to achieve organizational goals. Organizing people into departments according to the kinds of job-specific tasks they perform lays out the lines of authority and responsibility between different individuals and groups. Managers must decide how best to organize their resources. In leading, managers articulate a clear organizational vision for the organization's members to accomplish, and they energize and enable employees so that everyone understands the part he or she plays in achieving organizational goals. Leadership involves managers using their power, personality, influence, persuasion, and communication skills to coordinate people and groups so that their activities and efforts are in harmony. While controlling, the task of managers is to evaluate how well an organization has achieved its goals and to take any corrective actions needed to maintain or improve performance. To exercise control, managers must decide which goals to measure, and then they must design control systems that will provide the information necessary to assess the performance, that is, determine to what degree the goals have been met. The controlling task also helps managers evaluate how well they themselves are performing the other three tasks of management, which are planning, organizing, and leading, and then take corrective action. Effective managers need to have three kinds of skills, which are conceptual skills, human skills, and technical skills to help their organizations perform more effectively and efficiently. The absence of even one type of managerial skill can lead to failure. Developing new and improved skills through education and training has become a priority for both aspiring managers and the organizations they work for. The tasks and responsibilities of managers have been changing dramatically in recent years. Two major factors that have led to these changes are global competition and advances in information technology. Stiff competition for resources from organizations both at home and abroad has put increased pressure on all managers to improve efficiency and effectiveness. Increasingly, top managers are encouraging lower-level managers to look beyond the goals of their own departments and take a cross-departmental view to find new opportunities to improve organizational performance. Today, managers who make no attempt to learn from and adapt to changes in the global environment find themselves reacting rather than innovating, and their organizations often become uncompetitive and fail. Let's look at the challenges. What challenges are the managers facing? 5 major challenges stand out for managers in today's world: building a competitive advantage, maintaining ethical standards, managing a diverse workforce, utilizing new information systems and technologies, and practicing global crisis management. Achieving a competitive advantage requires that managers use all their skills and expertise, as well as their company's other resources, to find new and improved ways to improve efficiency, quality, innovation, and responsiveness to customers.
So how has the role of a library professional changed over a period of time? Let us see. Libraries are facing the major transformational changes due to the advancements of information and communication technologies. The technological changes have challenged and rendered many current practices of providing library services obsolete. The role of library has always been to provide the best of possible services to all patrons, possibly at all times. With competition from the World Wide Web, there is a sheer need for the librarians to provide a facelift to their current outlook and services.
In order to identify the new roles and responsibilities centering around the library profession for the library professionals, let us take a look at the traditional roles and responsibilities by traveling back in the professional time and looking at how they have transformed over a period of time with the advent of new technologies. The library and information professionals assist people in finding information and using it effectively for personal and professional purposes with their knowledge of a wide variety of scholarly and public information sources, and follow trends related to publishing, computers, and the media in order to oversee the selection and organization of the library materials. They also manage, staff, and develop and direct information programs and systems for the public to ensure that the information is organized in a manner that meets users' needs. Most positions of library and information professionals incorporate 3 aspects of library work, namely user services, technical services, and administrative services. Librarians specializing in one of these areas usually share responsibilities of the other 2 areas also. Some of the traditional roles of library and information professionals can be elucidated as a custodian who selects, organizes, and services print and other media, a guide who assists users in searching and critically evaluating relevant information sources, a public relations officer who maintains good relationships with management, clients, other libraries, and outside organizations. Other typical duties included working on bibliographies, coordinating library and bibliographic instruction, working on interlibrary loans, maintaining vertical files, etc. So what is the relevance of these traditional skills in the modern day information world? The information that users require in modern day information world may be accessed differently, but the skills that the information professionals need to manage this information can be adopted from the above stated established practices. The core skills traditionally associated with information professionals, which include information handling skills, training and facilitating skills, evaluation skills, and concern for the customer, are still relevant. These skills cover cataloging, classification, indexing, inquiry work, and user education, etc. All these functions which, if managed by librarians, will help to make the internet an easier place to navigate. Librarians in all sectors have built up roles and library services based on collections and users' needs and the values that are the foundation of the library profession, mainly the values of service, quality, universal access, and cooperation. The library must continue to perform one of the most important traditional functions, which is to organize the universe of resources in such a way that those most likely to be of value to the user community are made most accessible to this community physically and intellectually. The traditional library skills mentioned above should be reassessed, and their value to the information services in the electronic environment must be applied. For example, the creation of meaningful metadata files based on cataloging principles can help users find needles in the internet haystack. The creation of catalogs, including electronic resources, can ensure access, authenticity, reliability, and validity of network resources. The foundations of librarianship, which include skills such as cataloging and user education, are as relevant in an electronic age as they are in a print-based one, and will continue to provide a solid base of skills. Let us go ahead and explore what are the new roles and responsibilities that we are faced with in the new information era. Librarians are forced to adapt with the fast-growing technology. We witnessed the tremendous changes that took place in the library services, such as infrastructure, content creation, collection development, user interface, information and knowledge management strategies, etc. Digital libraries are the libraries without physical boundaries, which patrons can access at any place, anytime, anywhere, and in any format. The expectations from the users have gone up into a high level that the librarians are trying to meet with continuous learning. As you can look at the figure appearing in the slide, it shows that the librarian of the future must be equipped with a wide range of personal and transferable skills in order to manage the changing environment. Management and interpersonal skills will make librarians more effective managers of networked resources and services. The roles appearing on the slide are some of the new roles that have been envisioned in this modern era, like the information broker, educator, facilitator, database manager. A library and information professional is expected to play all these roles or many of these for meeting the new user expectations.
Let us now delve deeply into the duties and skills of a library manager in the new and modern information era. The library manager needs to administer, direct, and review library programs. He needs to provide guidance and advice to management on developing, implementing, and revising library programs and policies, and resolving issues regarding library operations and staff. He also develops and implements strategies for collecting information from customers and employees through surveys and audits to identify library issues and needs. The library manager also supervises staff responsible for the functions of a library. He plans for responding to needs of a library by participating in the strategic planning process. The library manager also develops library policies and procedures. He directs preparation and distribution of written and verbal information to inform managers and employees about library policies, procedures, and practices. He understands written sentences and paragraphs in work-related documents by talking to others and to convey information effectively. The library manager identifies complex problems and reviews related information to develop and evaluate options and implement solutions. Using logic and reasoning to identify the strengths and weaknesses of alternative solutions, conclusions, or approaches to the problems, he adjusts actions in relation to others' actions. He also acquires technical skills required to perform the job. The ability to think analytically and to develop new or revised systems, procedures, and workflow are also acquired by him. Knowledge of computers, the internet, and commercially available library software are also desirable skills of a library manager. The other duties or skills of library manager that are desirable in these days are the ability to prepare comprehensive reports and present ideas clearly and concisely in written and oral form, the ability to make administrative decisions, interpret policies, and supervise staff, ability to motivate, establish, and maintain effective working relationships with associates, supervisors, volunteers, other community agencies, and the public. Knowledge of the philosophy and techniques of library services are equally essential. He should also possess the ability to organize job duties and work independently. The library manager has to have a demonstrated knowledge of library materials and resources. He should also possess creativity to develop and implement library programs and services.
A library manager must exercise a unique set of skills. Similarly, at various levels, he requires different types of skills. For example, he needs to have the technical skill, human skill, conceptual skill, leading skills, planning, organizing, controlling, and decision-making skills. These skills refer to the personal ability put to use by the library manager in specific position that he or she holds in the organizational hierarchy. As one moves up in the hierarchy of the managerial positions, the responsibility increases. The fundamental duties of library managers such as planning, organizing, leading, controlling, and decision-making are the skills required to be mastered. In order to exercise these functions, one has also to keep in mind the type of job, the size of organization, the skills and the experiences of the people one works with, and the time available at his or her disposal to do these management functions. Let us now take a look at these essential skills in a bit of detail. What are the technical skills that are required? The technical skills is to say that it is the ability to work with resources in a library. In an age of specialization, technical skills is perhaps the most familiar one required of the greatest number of people. To become an efficient administrator, particularly at the first level, this skill becomes indispensable to efficient operation. As a supervisor of a set of employees, library manager has to ensure that employees have sound grounding in the principle, structure, and processes of their individual specialty along with actual practice and experience. This appears to be the best way to develop the technical skill. As one moves up in the managerial hierarchy, perhaps this skill becomes relatively less important than the human and conceptual skills. In a relatively small organization, the library manager needs a lot of technical skill himself. Coming to human skills, these are the library manager's ability to work effectively as a group member and to build cooperative effort within the team he or she leads. Every managerial level requires interaction with other people, whereas technical skill is primarily concerned with working with things. If you have highly developed human skills and if you are aware of your own attitudes, assumptions, and beliefs about other individuals and groups, you're able to see their usefulness and limitations. Human skills can be developed without any formalized training. Many others are to be individually aided by their immediate supervisors, who themselves should possess the human skill in order to be able to impart that. An important part of the procedure is the self-examination of the individual's own concepts and values, which may enable him or her to develop more useful attitudes about himself or herself and about others. Conceptual skills mean the ability to see the organization as a whole, and it includes recognizing how the various activities of the organization depend on one another. It also makes the individual aware how changes in any one part of the organization affect others. Thus, the library manager gains insight into improving the overall welfare of the total organization. Coming to presentation skills, management is the art of getting things done, as we discussed. A presentation is a potentially effective method of getting things done through other people. Presentations are used as a formal method for bringing people together to plan, monitor, and review its progress. Firstly, it puts you on display. Your employees need to see evidence of decisive planning and leadership so that they are confident in your position as their library manager. They need to be motivated and inspired to understand the tasks which you are presenting. Therefore, presentation provides chance to speak your mind with the team members. As a library manager, your view in relation to the job, words should be pragmatic rather than philosophical. The greatest source of difficulty is that words often have different meanings depending upon context or culture. If you recognize that there is a potential misunderstanding, you must stop the conversation and ask for the valid interpretation. As with all effective communication, you should decide well in advance the purpose of the conversation and the plan for achieving it. Time is a very important aspect in everyone's life, including the organizational life. Time management is one of those skills that no one teaches, but one has to learn himself. The time management is very effective for supervisory positions. Supervisory positions can be very stressful and overwhelming when specific deadlines need to be met. Library managers need to handle tasks and assignments in a timely manner. Time is similar to finances, and both need to be budgeted wisely. How do library managers lead? Leading skills are equally important. Leading people requires that the leader must understand the values, personality, perception, and attitudes of people. As a library manager, one has to act differently from another individual because of one's values, personality, perception, and attitudes. This is a very important factor to be understood in relation to the other person, who may be the supervisor or a subordinate. Value is a conviction that a person holds about a specific mode of conduct and the importance of that conviction to the person. The effective aspect of the attitude refers to the feelings and emotions about one's attitude towards a person, object, or situation. Another very valuable skill is decision-making skill. Decision-making skills are present in the planning process. Management skill of decision-making for routine or non-routine problems is a time-consuming activity and certainly poses a challenge to the manager for making a number of important decisions, good in quality and satisfactory, in producing solutions to a problem. A library manager's effectiveness lies in making good and timely decisions. Again, remember, in the decision-making process, you may like to decide on repetitive or routine problems. Processing library applications in a large collective mode like in a college or a university are examples of routine problems. Such routine problems are different from complex and novel problems. Alongside of the skills discussed already, a library manager must also possess customer orientation and service skills, evaluation and assessment skills, managerial skills, knowledge of policies, procedures, issues and standards, and knowledge of legal issues, particularly pertaining to information resources and their access, knowledge of various information sources, and services, a commitment to lifelong learning, marketing, promotional and branding skills, project management skills, and of all, knowledge management skills. Let us now take a look at the knowledge management skill in some detail from the following slide. So what is knowledge management? What is it all about? Knowledge management is all about leveraging the knowledge of an organization internally and externally and trying to capitalize on the organizational intelligence to maintain a competitive edge. As evident from the definition, knowledge management deals with creating, securing, capturing, coordinating, combining, retrieving, and distributing the organizational knowledge. So what does knowledge management involve? What is it all about? As we have discussed, it is about sharing of knowledge by capturing and capitalizing on the organizational intelligence. It involves three components: people, process, and technology. It is concerned with the exploitation and development of the knowledge assets of an organization with a view to furthering the organization's objectives. The knowledge to be managed includes both explicit documented knowledge and tacit subjective knowledge. Management entails all those processes associated with the identification, sharing, and creation of knowledge. This requires systems for the creation and maintenance of knowledge repositories and to cultivate and facilitate the sharing of knowledge and organizational learning. Organizations that succeed in knowledge management are likely to view knowledge as an asset and to develop organizational norms and values that support the creation and sharing of knowledge. These have been known as learning organizations since long. Therefore, it is only natural for them to provide a strong leadership in knowledge management. Because of the exponential growth in human knowledge in a variety of formats, libraries need to develop their resources, access, and sharing strategies from printed to electronic and digital resources. Going beyond explicit knowledge, libraries should also develop means to capture all tacit knowledge that is of importance to their users, their organizations, and to the internal operation of libraries. The library website should serve as a portal for all sources of selective and relevant knowledge and information, whether explicit or tacit, whether on-site or remote, and in all formats. Libraries have had a long tradition of resource sharing and networking. These have been greatly expanded by the rapid development of computers, telecommunication, networking, and digital technologies. So what are the requisites for implementing the knowledge management? The requisites are: to facilitate the implementation of knowledge management, there should be a well-designed and operational KM system, and usage of latest information and communication technology tools and systems must be in place. So how do we design and develop such a system? Such a system, a robust KM system, can be designed by synergistic working of the librarian and heads of other departments like planning, human resources, information and communication technologies, finance, etc. in a cohesive manner will aid in the development of a robust knowledge management system in an organization. What needs to be facilitated in order to develop a knowledge management system? Let's take a bit of detail. Programs to facilitate the capture, analysis, organization, storage, and sharing of internal and external information resources, and for effective knowledge exchange among the users, resource persons like the faculty, researchers, and subject specialists, etc., and publishers, government agencies, businesses, and industries, and other organizations via multiple channels and layers needs to be facilitated. The utmost goal of knowledge management is to provide users with a variety of quality services in order to improve the communication, use, and creation of knowledge. As much as possible, these services should be tailored to the interest and needs of each user. Information about each user can be obtained by analyzing the records of a user registration, surveys, circulation, and interlibrary loans, and frequently asked reference questions, and the use of electronic journal resources and digital resources, etc. Every program which is implemented in an organization needs continuous improvement over a period of time. The two interchangeable and interlinked methods for continuous improvement are having a feedback mechanism following the feedback control loop, and the PDCA cycle. What does PDCA cycle stand for? The PDCA cycle stands for planning, doing, checking, and acting. Planning involves design of a system or a service. Doing involves the implementation part of it, and checking involves taking of feedback about the implemented program and assessing its effectiveness. And acting means redesigning of the system or the service following the results obtained from the feedback. How to promote an organizational culture with knowledge management? A great amount of expert knowledge is possessed by library staff and users both in and outside the libraries. In university and research communities, such expertise is abundant and should be inventoried, indexed, and updated regularly and be made searchable and accessible through electronic databases created and maintained by libraries. The knowledge and accumulated experiences of library staff members form the intellectual assets of any library, and they should be valued and shared. An organizational culture for sharing of knowledge and expertise should be established with appropriate rewards and incentives. Those staff members who share their tacit knowledge and experiences through writing, publishing, lecturing, tutoring, or mentoring should be appropriately recognized and rewarded. An organizational culture which emphasizes cooperation, sharing, and innovation can only be established by a strong leadership and commitment from the library manager and a shared vision by the library staff. Libraries should also encourage the transfer of knowledge and experience from experienced staff to new staff members. A mentoring system should be in place to help newcomers to learn from experienced library staff. Informal seminars where staff can interact and exchange lessons learned, best practices, and other specific experience and knowledge should be scheduled at regular intervals and at convenient times. Special interest groups and chat rooms, they also can be created through intranet. Since many valuable experiences have been accumulated over time, libraries should pay attention to favorable working conditions and environment, which will contribute to better staff retention.
Let us now recapitulate what we have learned in this module. We understood the definition of job of a manager. We elaborated upon the role of a manager, managerial responsibilities, and the essential skills that are required for a manager. We also saw what are the environmental changes and the associated challenges with respect to the library profession and how the role of a library professional has changed over a period of time. What were the traditional roles, skills that were relevant at that time to the library professional and whether they are relevant in the present context, and what are the new roles and responsibilities of a library manager in the present times. Then we touched upon in detail the duties or skills of a library manager in the present times. Also, we discussed some desirable skill sets for a library manager. Then we moved on to the knowledge management and how is it relevant to us and its importance and what are the essential components of knowledge management, its systems, the design, development, implementation, and benefits in libraries. Having learned this module, let us now see some of the interesting facts that we did not know until now. John Abbott, director of 21st Learning Initiative, says, "The future belongs to those who know how to learn." And the fact is, the librarian can develop independent learners and readers for life. The 21st century technologies have brought about blurring of boundaries and gave rise to innovative tools and techniques, because of which the traditional tools may be redundant. Therefore, break the tradition, go for non-traditional roles, and think out of the box. Get creative, sky is the limit. Some of the non-traditional roles that you can think of exploring are creative project manager, director of community service, and discovery metadata librarian, acquisitions team lead, intelligence associate, research coordinator, library relations manager, clinical informatics librarian, Any one of these, you can utilize your skills. So wish you all the best and thank you.